Everyone back? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So let's get started again. And just now we implemented the UI for the ammo and spawning of the enemies and fixed a few bugs, so to speak. Now we'll move on to implementing the headshot and the health bar system uh, and the other things as time permits, basically. So let us go back to our game. This is where we left off. We have one enemy zombie. We have a spawn trigger to create more enemies. We can turn this off right now because we want to work on one enemy. And there are no overrides as of now. So yeah, so now what we want to do here is basically change this collider. And so this one capsule collider that you see, this thing, is one thing that is basically capturing the trigger. So if you see right now, not the trigger, the raycast, sorry. So if you see right now, it is basically the head is also encapsulated inside this capsule. So what we can do is basically press on this edit collider, and this gives us the some points that we can move around in this collider, right? So if you see this is a point, this point, there's a point here that we are not able to see, but if I click on this, I can bring it down here to basically separate the head. So I can do it something like this. So this looks okay, well, good enough. And maybe we can reduce this a bit if you want. From here as well. Yeah. So now this is the collider that will work for the actual, like the whole body shooting. And then we'll add new collider inside this. So for that, what we'll need to do is basically add a new 3D object, which will be a sphere inside this. And let's call this sphere head collider and move it up here. And we'll have to unpack the prefab for this, and we'll save the prefab again, so it's not an issue. So we'll unpack the prefab completely and move this here. And inside the head collider, we will basically move it towards the position of the head to better serve our purpose. And we can scale it down, press shift to scale it down evenly. Go back to moving W. Let's look at it from all sides. Looks like the head is encapsulated perfectly, and can turn off the mesh renderer. So now we have a collider that will basically test the head if the head is being shot. And we have a collider below that as well, which is basically testing if the body has been shot. So if you see, there is a bit of overlap that I would like to avoid. So what I can do is again edit this and take it a bit more below. So doing that is basically leaving these areas out. So maybe cover this, and instead of taking this, we can put this a bit more up and maybe reduce the size altogether. And bring the mesh one back. Just quickly see. Yep, this also is perfectly fitting. And we can now remove the mesh collider, bring back here. Now this makes this looks better. Our two colliders are not intermingled, they are not overlapping, nothing is happening, and it's straightforward. So now we have one collider which will be used for head, and we have a collider for the body. So body collider is already set up, everything's working. And what happens now if I go in and shoot? Let's check. So if I shoot at body, it's working. If I shoot at head, it is not working. So head is basically thinking of this as something else and it is shooting at it like it is a wall, you see these things are being created. So we fix those, right? So to fix that, what we'll do is we will create a few new things, new scripts, and also add a few new things as well. So for doing that, first let me add a Unity blood gush package. What I want to do essentially is basically what we'll do is when the head is shot, we will turn this thing off. So this is basically the head of the enemy. We'll turn this off and some blood will come out of here and basically make it look like the shot of the enemy's head. You can obviously make it more interesting by separating the head and pushing it back with some force, like actually separating the head, those things. But right now we'll just disable it for now, bring it back. And once this is deactivated, we'll add some blood there. So to get some blood effect, this is a good package that we can use, the blood gush. I think I've already imported it, but let me just check. If you open this, open in Unity, open Unity Editor. And I've downloaded it and import it. So one for you, when you do this, you'll first see download and then you'll be able to import. So once imported, I can place it inside third-party VSITs to maintain this thing. Then I have this thing also. Yeah, blood gush, and I have a prefab, so which I can use and which I will use. So moving on, we'll come back to this, but or we can just add it for now here itself. We'll add it here inside right after the blood spray effects. We can completely unpack this as well, and it'll basically be packed again with the when we create the this thing. Sorry, create the prefab for the enemy. Then we'll pack this inside with the enemy itself. So now what we can do is basically we have to rotate it on the x-axis 90. Does that work? Should be minus 90 apparently. So these are the three systems that are actually making it work. But we apply changes to the body instead of the individual systems so that everything works perfectly. And now we'll also need to change the uh, like where does it start from? That should be near the head. So let me turn the head off to actually see if this is perfectly fitting there. And this is what we are going for. Just a little bit more back, maybe a little bit more inside. And this looks okay. So this will work for us. Something like this. And that's it. We'll add some scripts to this to make it disappear and all those things. But now let's bring it back. And next, what we want to do is just a second. Nothing here, nothing here. Yeah, so next what we want to do is basically add a new script now. And this new script is going to be here. We'll name it as headshot. And inside this, all we need to do is basically have head, and basically we'll just control the disappearing of the actual head and the appearing of the effect. So we'll create a head game object. We'll create a game object named as blood gush effect, and this is where we learn a new function uh, on disable. So how this will work is basically that this headshot script is going to be applied to the collider. And if you remember, uh, when we shoot, what we are going to do is disable the collider. So this thing, we are going to disable this whole script for like when we are actually shooting the enemy and doing the headshot, we'll write that script also. When this happens, we'll disable the head collider script, not just the collider. We have already written the script to disable the collider when enemy dies, but for headshot specifically, we'll disable the head collider whole game object. So when that happens, and if the script is attached to this game object, this script will be called on disable only, on disable. So on disable, what will happen is basically what we want to do is set head dot set active as false and blood gush as set active as true. So we want to set the actual head, the 3D head uh, thing to off and actually turn on the head effect, the blood effect. So headshot, add it here, add the head, add the blood gush effect, and yes, that's it. And next, what we can do is add to collider. Next, we will create one more script for the this thing, and it will be a general script which can be used anywhere to disable or destroy a game object. So script, and let's call it destroy timer. This will be a script which basically will be used when we this will be used when we want to destroy something after time, which we have used somewhere before. If you remember, we have used it here in the enemy health. When the enemy dies, we give it a time of 10 seconds to destroy. But we are defining it here specifically on our own, and it has other components. It's like the variable of is the enemy dead is coming from somewhere else, and death animation is happening, all those things. But what we want now is just a simple script. When this script is activated, all it needs to do is take a timer int, or we can do it float as well. Float destroy timer equals to 5f by default. You can change it in the inspector, that's why it's public. And we need a awake function. So as soon as this script is activated, what happened here? Private. As soon as the script is activated, we'll basically just destroy whatever game object this is attached to after the time destroy time. Sorry, not destroy timer. And destroy timer. Destroy time will be better. Destroy time. Sorry. Yep, that's all. And now we want to attach this to the blood spray. So destroy timer and a timer of 5 seconds is fine. And let's now move on to actually implementing these two things. So now if you're following the logic, what will happen is we'll add in the raycast, we'll check if the head is being shot. If the head is being shot, then we will disable this game object. Once this game object is disabled, this script is called. In this script, what is happening is the head is disabled and the blood gush effect is turned on. So head is basically this thing. So this will be disabled and this thing will be turned on. So this will start disabled and then it will be turned on. So I'm disabling this. And then what will happen is as soon as this turns on, the destroy timer starts because the awake function has a destroy call, and it will again destroy this thing in after 5 seconds. So go back here, turn this on. This is the default setup. And now we can go to the enemy shooting thing where we are actually checking what we are shooting. So that is going to be in the shoot ray. So this is where we are checking if the hit dot transform is equal to enemy. Similarly, we can just copy this whole thing and we can have another if statement, basically an else if statement, else if this tag is not enemy, instead let's say it's tagged as head, which we like, right? And we can debug as headshot. And this thing, these few things will change, but let's first go and create the head tag. So head tag will be added to our head collider, which is this one. Let's create a new tag, It's called head. Let's assign it head. So this is done. Now what we were doing in the shoot script, if you remember, is basically we are checking the health script. We are getting the health script and we want this function, we want to actually call this function. But if you see what we are doing right now is basically hit that transform dot get component enemy health. So when we were shooting the enemy, it was basically looking for this collider, and this collider actually has the enemy health script in the same game object. But now when we'll shoot at the head, this does not have that collider. So instead, we'll have to look for the enemy health script in the parent, right? Because we want to use the deduct health function, and deduct health, we can just do it straightforward once, like for headshot, obviously we'll want that in one shot it dies. So instead of get component here, we'll have to use get component in parent, this thing. And similarly here also we can change. This is where we are just basically just checking if the enemy is dead or not, and then we are instantiating that blood effect, the spray and some blood. So we can do it as get component in parent. Everything else remains the same, I guess. Uh, yeah, everything else remains the same. And other than that, we just need to do one more thing quickly, is basically set the hit dot transform dot game object set active as false. So this is what everything is dependent on, is basically setting off the game object, which is we are hitting. When we are hitting the head, we want to turn off that game object. And we can also add a sound for this separately. So let us do that also quickly. We'll add a new clip for the headshot. So public audio clip, um, headshot audio clip, and here we'll just call this also right after. So we have a audio source somewhere, I'm sure. Yeah, done audio source dot play one shot. I hope this you are all following because we have done this multiple times now. Headshot audio clip. Gun audio source is an audio source. Play one shot is a function which will play it one time, and head audio shot is a clip which we'll add. So let me go back here. Let us add one more audio asset. I don't have it right now. So asset headshot, add it here. Put the headshot asset inside enemy zombie, inside the enemy not enemy zombie, inside the player shoot script, we have this new, okay, it didn't show up. I think forgot to save it. Yep. Save it, go back here. It will show up headshot. So now it seems like everything is set up. Let us check it out. So yeah, that works, but certain other things don't work. Enemy is not dead and all those things because we did not set the correct damage amount. So let's go and do that quickly. And where is that? We have damage amount somewhere, damage enemy. And similarly, we can do just copy this and we can call it head shot head shot damage, and we can just keep it as 100 because our enemy's health is going to be 100. I presume we might have changed that uh, damage amount. This is for the player. Enemy health is 100. We changed something else then, I guess. Yeah, we changed the damage enemy, which is normal. We can bring it back to 35 or 40 or something. So let's make it 35 only, or make it 20 so that it shoots in 25, so that it, like, the enemy dies in 4 shots if you shoot the body and dies in 1 shot if you shoot the head. So, but we'll also need to call the pass this thing um, here, not damage enemy. Here we'll pass the headshot damage. What was it called? Headshot. Yep, headshot damage. Now going back, this is staying up, which we'll fix, but other than that, everything is working. That would be a quick fix. This thing can just go inside this. This is where, like, this is the whole body. So this will basically fall when the body falls. So hopefully this works as is. Let's just quickly check once more. Yep, that looks good. And it's just a little bit below where it should be. So maybe I can just quickly bring it a little bit forward. Let's see now. Looks okay only. Not too perfect, not too bad. Maybe a little bit more forward. Maybe that'll be too much. Let's just see how it looks from far first. Yeah, looks okay. So works for us. And if you can hear, there's an audio of this thing as well. Um, the headshot audio is very, there's nothing much, but yeah, obviously you can add whatever you want. So that's it for the headshot. Let us try to now, like, we'll basically have to add an new prefab. So I can delete this prefab just to not have any confusions. And this will be our enemy zombie updated prefab. And now I can deactivate it here and activate my spawn trigger and add the enemy zombie prefab here. Now let's see with everything that we set up how this works. We move in, 4, 3 enemies show up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So yeah, everything's working perfectly as expected. So that was it about the headshot concept. And let us do a quick review of it, what all we did. So we imported two new assets. One was the blood gush effect, one was the audio for the headshot. We inside the enemy zombie, we basically inside sorry, not inside the enemy zombie, inside the player shooting script, we did some things, and we also inside the enemy zombie first we created. Let me just turn it on to show you. So we created a head collider. We changed the collider. First things first, we changed the original collider's shape and size. We added a new head collider, which is for a separate head. In this head collider, we added tag head. We added a new this thing, blood spray effect, which is under the pelvis body of the zombie enemy. And this is starting deactivated. This has a destroy timer of 5 seconds. So it deactivates before the enemy body deactivates. Enemy body, we know we have kept the timer for 10 seconds. So this will be active for 5 seconds. And then after 5 seconds, the body also will disappear. We then basically added a function here for headshot, where what we are doing is using a new kind of a function which we have not seen before till now. Uh, the disable function, which runs, which is called when the behavior becomes disabled or inactive, as it is written here. This function is called when the behavior becomes disabled or inactive. So what that means is that whenever whoever whichever game object this script is applied to, whenever that script game object deactivates or disables itself, this part of the script on disable will get activated. And on disable, what we are doing is basically setting the 3D structure, 3D mesh of the head to false, uh, and the blood gush effect to active. And blood gush effect initially started with a deactivated status. Then what we are doing is basically inside the shoot script, similar to what we did with the enemy, when we are doing the whole body check. Now we are doing just the head check. So we added another if statement inside a. So we created an else if statement. In this if statement, we are checking if the tag is head. If it is head, then we are doing a headshot. We created a new headshot damage amount. This damage amount we are keeping to 100. And we learned a new thing about get component in parent, because the enemy health script, which is actually calling the deduct health, is not available to the head component on which uh, the headshot collider is attached. So for that, we'll need to go to the parent. So we are doing get component in parent, and then other things are basically playing the audio and setting the hit game object as false to activate the other things. So yeah, so this is the loop that we have created, and this is how it's working. And it's working perfectly for all prefabs of the enemy zombie. Save the project, and that's it. That's about the uh, headshot. So learned a few new things here, and now let's move on to the health bar. So health bar can be implemented 2 or 3 different ways, or 100 different ways. As I keep saying, everything can be implemented 100 different ways. We look at one straightforward way of doing it, and one like a better, not a better, like just visually pleasing way of doing it. So let's first do a straightforward way of this. And for that, we'll go back to our canvas, and we'll go back to the 2D view. We rename this panel, and let us create a new panel. This panel we can keep somewhere here. And this thing can switch Shift Alt and get it to this place. 0, 800, and 200. So that looks okay. And inside this panel, let us add a slider, which is also a UI element. So sliders are generally basically like if I go here, this is what a slider is, but I'll be using it as a health element rather than a display element. I think I can reduce this to this panel to 400 instead of 800. That was a bit too much. Yeah, this thing, this much size is enough, will be enough for any kind of health bar that I want to create. And inside this, I can just turn this off, or I can turn off the image. Both things do the same thing for us. Slider is basically this thing. If you've used any kind of UI anywhere, this is basically a slider. If I go in game view, this is an interactable slider which I can actually access. Right now I'm not able to access it because I have the player which is basically doing some stuff, and I think right now also I'll not be able to access. Oh, I can access it, but not properly. But yeah, as you can see that this is how slider works, but we will be using the property of the slider to implement something else. So what we'll do inside the slider, this is the handle select area, the handle that I just clicked and moved around. This is something that we'll not be needing. We will basically be using the background area and the fill area and the actual this thing value actually. So this is how we'll be filling the health bar and reducing the health bar. So let us make a few changes to this. Let's increase the width to 200 and height to 80. Let's see how that looks. Looks okay. We can maybe increase it a bit more. 400 would be a bit too much. 200 is fine. Instead of 80, it can be 100. That's fine. That looks okay. And we'll also add some text somewhere here. For background, we can do red color in background and fill area. Fill color would be green somewhere here. And we need to fix this. We can make this 0, 0. This also 0, 0. So now it's perfect. Slider is perfect. Between values of 0 and 1, this will basically, this is how the health bar will look like. So now all we need to do is like we did for the ammo, we just need to supply some value here. So for now, I will also do one more thing, is create an empty inside this one. Where did it go? Is it in the center? It is in the center. I'll go here. Sorry, not inside the slider. I wanted it here. And I want to put the slider inside it. So this will be the slider implementation. I also want to implement a radial slider for you guys. So we'll come back to that. Slider implementation. And quick check once more if it is working. Oh, sorry. It's working. Let me name the slider to health bar slider. And let us add a text. UI text mesh pro. This can be added. This will be health text. Spell text. This can be Actually, it is perfectly aligned already. All I need to do is basically align these things and make it auto size. This looks okay. And this will be basically else. Yep. Uh, Now all we need to do is go to the player health script, which is this one, and display the current health information there. And for that, we will basically be using something's very forward health bar. First, we'll do slider implementation. So for that, we need a slider. And when I did this, just make note that a Unity engine.ui was imported. So slider would be named health bar, and we'll need a text mesh pro UGUI text, which will be the health text. So again, doing the straightforward implementation, we can just update the information in the update function, so to say. So let us create an update function first, because this does not have an update function. Update, just a second. In this update, we'll write some conditions, but as a start, what we can do is health bar dot value equals current health, straightforward. Health bar dot text equals to health bar dot value dot. This makes sense. And what we can also do is health bar dot max is there max value equals to max health. So we have a max value here. If you go to the health slider, this is a max value. So we want this to be 100 when we start, and then it will reduce as the health reduces. So this is a very, very straightforward implementation. And let's just quickly check it out. Oops, we did not assign the variables there. So player capsule, player health, variables are not showing up because we did not make them public slider and public text mesh pro UGUI health plate. Still forgot to actually add it. My bad. And that's it. So now you see it starts with a 100. When we start getting attacked, this reduces 30 at a time. I thought we changed it. Oh, we changed the enemy's thing, not the player's thing. Yep, now we are dead. But apparently we can still shoot. So we have to check that. We will fix this. We'll first let's fix that only. Once we are dead, how are we still able to shoot? So let us go inside this. And are we not checking if the player is dead? Apparently not anywhere. Yeah, no, we are not doing that. We were checking if the enemy is dead here, but we need to check if the player is dead. So, or what we can actually do is if the player is dead, we can just disable the whole thing altogether. So what you can do is inside this, mm, Inside this, we can call a destroy function, and we'll disable the shoot component. We'll let the player move around for now, but at least he won't be able to shoot after he's dead. Hopefully this works. And also we'll set the damage amount something different. Damage amount, let's increase it for now, make it 50 so that we can actually check the health faster. We can come back and change this later. Oops, I can still shoot. My shoot script is still active. Dead is called and it did not get destroyed. And health, maybe an object. That is actually being called only when this probably won't get called. Sometimes it might get called, sometimes should get called every time. Is dead is true. This is the only place we are setting is dead. Is there anywhere else that is dead is being set? Damage flare. No, there's no other way. Let me check quickly. This is how we set up enemy health as well. So enemy health seems like it is working, but anyway, what we can do is basically add a check here. If is dead, then deactivate this component. Maybe we're not able to do it there, but if is dead turns on, then we'll be able to do it. Seems straightforward enough. Let's try it out. We go, we die. We'll shoot. I don't know why. Destroy. I think we are not setting his dead properly. Somehow his dead is not being set. So float damage is current health is greater than equal to 0. It still goes in damage. I can change this to greater than 0. And then when it is equal to 0, oh yeah, we've changed the it should go inside dead when it is equal to 0 as well. If after that it is not being called because the player is being nope, still can call it. I don't know what I've done wrong. I will try to figure it out, but for now what we can do is try and set the is dead true equals to true here. For some reason, I don't know what is happening. We have this and shoot. We have is dead here somewhere. Is dead. We don't have is dead here. Player is dead is being used here. Okay, this is not player. This is their own is dead. We have a is dead which is being set here. It's true. And last check. Otherwise, we'll try and figure out later. Pretty sure I'm doing something wrong. Just can't point it out. Let's go. Let's die. What is our health now? Current health 0. Is dead is true. Oh, it is taking a bit of time, but yeah. So yep. There's a delay in is dead being called, which we can change immediately. If health becomes 0, then this dead function should be called immediately. So we can write that in the update function actually, that if current health equals less than or equal to 0, then we can basically obviously do this. Now we can do this here. But here, what did I do? Yeah, here what we can do is um, call the dead function, but I also want to just call it once. Um, and I can just check if not is dead, so that I call this function only once. Oh, oops, I just pressed something else by mistake. Started debugging, which I didn't want. Yes, I don't have to do it here now. So now what it's doing is basically to check if the current health is less than 0. If not is dead, then it will call the dead function. If it is already dead, then this function will not run again. So yeah, let's do this now. So this is the benefit of using update over functions which are called based on events. Now, as soon as we are dead, we are not able to shoot. We don't have to wait for the function. And let us also, oh, we were implementing health only, so we don't have to implement shooting. But yeah, it is working. So yeah, so this is set up, and this thing is set up. So I'll write here as well, slider implementation. Let us also do a radial view. Radial, if let me show you what I mean by that. Radial bar. Yep, something like this. So not as perfect as this, obviously, but yeah, something like this we'll try to set up. This looks kind of perfect. We'll try to set up something like this. So health will start, we'll have this function, and we'll have the health in between. So I don't think I have anything left to check now. Do I? Not really. I think everything's fine now. Yeah, so I can do that now. And what I'll do for that is basically go inside Unity, go inside Canvas, health information, slider implementation gone. We can turn off the slider implementation for now and turn like so, create a new empty. And in this empty, we'll write radial implementation. So radial implementation will include the use of 3 images basically. So let us create those quickly. First image is going to be one image, which is going to be a background image. Background image. And for sprite, so we need a sprite, circular sprite. So this UI circle, I have it from somewhere, I don't know. I think from the joystick controller or somewhere. So for now, I use this, or we can use this. I think this is more perfect. So we use this, and We'll change the color of the background to red because when the green wears off, we want it to look red as we did with the slider. Then we want a image that actually, and we can turn these things off, radial, raycast, maskable, it doesn't matter, we're not using those. We do want to use like, I'll just fill image I'll create and then I will show you. UI image radial fill image, or actually this should be, oh sorry, I created it inside, my bad. It shouldn't be inside it. Actually, I don't know. So create one more empty. Let's call it radial health bar. Inside this, I can create one more image, which would be my fill image. So I'll call that fill image. Inside this image, this will be radial fill image. How much time do we have left? We have 10 minutes. I think I'll be able to complete this part at least. And this color we can put somewhere green, like we did with that. And here what we want to do is basically implement image type as filled. And now what we want to implement, like we can set up whatever we want. I want radial 360 and I want to start from right. And the fill amount here is like, this is what we'll be basically be implementing. But to actually implement that, we need one more image, which will be the front image. So our final image, front image, and finally maybe this on this time, and not fading complete. Oh, this was like the image itself is faded. I'll basically use this only then. Um, I want it to be white, that's fine, but I do want it to be a bit smaller than the other ones. So somewhere here, let me resize it using this one. So maybe just like this would be good. And again, front image, this thing, no, not required. So this is how basically I'm going to implement the health bar now, right? It makes sense. It's similar to the slider that we have implemented. And we can add one text also. Effects, UI, text mesh pro. Sorry. UI, text mesh pro, and health text. Can health. This thing should be ideally be inside this. Oops, I think something's wrong. Yep. And auto size, make this black and center. Yep. Now all we need to do is go back to our script and comment out this stuff. Okay, this and add a new comment, radial implementation, and now add public image for the image value, and this would be, let's call it health radial fill, and public image, public text mesh pro as one as the same as before, like we could have used same text. I need to create this, I think. Can just use one variable for both texts. Although I think I have created two, maybe because placement and all those things would be better to use two separate if you want. But this also we can comment out now. And what we'll do is create uh, some new things. Uh, so what we need to do is basically have a, we could create a new function, or let's just write it here only. If you want, we can basically create one function. We could have created one function for this and one function for the radial one. But right now, all we want to do is basically health radial fill image. So health radial fill uh, dot fill amount. And because this we can't change between 0 and 1, so we'll do current health divide by 100. So this will basically bring it between 0 and 1. And for the health text, we can still have just the current health directly would be better. Yeah, so that looks good. And let's go here. Let's assign those things now. So health text also we need to change this one. And radial image, just make sure that you add this specific image only, radial fill image, not the other part. And health text looks a bit big still. So let us bring it down more here. That looks a bit better, I guess. So now let's try it out. And there we have it. Size too small, but yeah, we can try and increase the size, implement it as we like it, right? And that's it. That's it for the implementation of the health bar. We now have remaining the pickup system, the player respawn, and this. This be 1 hour class more, and then we'll be done. So I think we can call it a day for today. That's all.